That's my name. Very easy to say. How about this? You guys know Peter, right? I want you to think of it this way. Shirokov. Emphasize the rock. Very simple, right? That's exactly what it is. So my name is Peter Shirokov, and I will be your professor for this next 16 weeks of public speaking. Okay? I don't know what you guys think about public speaking. Maybe you just took it because it's an easy class. Like, oh, I know how to speak. You know, I can handle this. Public speaking, private speaking, I can handle this. So I don't know why you're taking class, but you know, hopefully you're looking to improve yourself. Because here's the exciting part. In public speaking class, you get to learn how to speak publicly. We'll have a little bit of practice time. We won't have a lot, but our class is not so huge. Everybody can have a short, speech here and there to throw in. So it's a practical class. Some classes you go, you just learn stuff that goes into your brain, and that's it. This class, you actually learn something you use for the rest of your life every single day. That's a cool class. I mean, you're going to be learning, you're going to spend 16 weeks of doing something, you might as well get something useful out of it. Okay, so that's just by way of short intro of myself, so you don't know a little bit of who I am and where I come from. My last name is Russian. I was born and raised in Russia. I came to this country at the age of 18 years old, and went to college and all that stuff. So I did my actual college study and the rest of my school, here in the United States. But I did grow up in Russia, and actually in communist Russia, believe it or not. So yeah, so I understand that part of the experience. Some of you guys, anybody grew up overseas? You overseas?
Overseas? Not my country.
Yeah.
I just grown up my country. I went to the different country when I was about like teenager.
Okay.
And went back to my country again.
Okay. So America is your new country.
Yes.
Okay. See, it's okay. So I'm just telling you guys that you feel a little foreign. That's okay. I'm foreign too. So we're in the same boat. English is not my native language. I learned English in school, and then when I came, of course, here to the United States, that's when I had a chance to really polish it up and get good at it. But so, how in the world did I end up teaching public speaking courses like that? Well, I teach a lot of other courses. I actually specialize in religion. Religion theology is my specialties. I teach languages. I enjoy languages. I teach Hebrew. I teach Greek. I teach all sorts of theological religious courses. But for a number of years, I've been teaching communication classes. Why? Because I love language. Anything that has to do with language. And so people have asked me, well, could you teach this class? Could you teach that class? And so it kind of started me in that direction. And so now for years, I've been teaching classes in interpersonal cross-cultural communication and business communication and public speaking and all sorts of anything that has to do with language. Sometimes they just put that on my plate and say, could you teach that? And so, yeah, I enjoy it. I have a lot of practice doing it. I have been practicing public speaking for many years. Well, I've been teaching on college campuses for, I guess, about 9 years, maybe, 8 years that I've been doing teaching. So I have a lot of practice of standing in front of people. And I have been speaking at different conferences, delivering papers, various contexts. I've had sales jobs where I had to speak and learn how to do that kind of stuff. So you could say that my speaking experience is very diverse, which kind of prepares me to teach a class like this. So that's part of the reason why you guys get me for this class. But to give you just a quick little short run through, and I'm just going to run through the syllabus. If you have it online, you can look it up. The syllabus is online. When you go to your class, My Courses, you click on the Info tab, there's a file that you can download, and that's where your syllabus is located. Now, what is this class all about? Well, it really is about taking your oral communication skills and taking it to the next level, okay? And what are we going to cover here? We're going to cover different types of speaking, different types of speeches that you can give. We'll talk about extemporaneous speeches. We talk about speeches to persuade, speeches to inform, maybe motivate. There's different types of purposes that we pursue when we have these occasions to speak. You'll learn a few techniques of how to develop a speech, how to write it, how to build it, how to make it strong, how to make it better. You learn some techniques on delivery. How do you actually, get through to people? Believe it or not, there's better ways and worse ways. Not everybody is just automatically knows how to do it. It's an art, it's a skill. You develop it like anything else. If you're going to become good at it, you have to practice. So we'll talk about listening, active listening. We'll talk about critical listening. That's another skill that you will pick up that will help you a lot. And a lot of what we're learning actually applies to your workplace, it applies to politics, it applies to classes that you're going to be having, because you'll be doing presentations sooner or later somewhere in front of your class. So it prepares you for whatever is next. Okay, it's a great skill to have, essentially. So the course is broken up into two major parts. I just want you to know. In the first part, we concentrate mostly on theory, and then we move into a more practical part where you get to do more of your practice speeches. Okay? If you're nervous about speaking, don't freak out. It's okay. We'll work through it. It's normal for people to get nervous. Some people get more nervous speaking, other people get less, but everybody gets nervous. I'll tell you, I've spoken in front of 3 people, and I've spoken in front of 3,000 people, and I still get nervous. It doesn't matter. We all do. It's just what we do with it. That's the difference. Okay. So we'll talk about how to deal with some of our nervous energies as well. And then we get into the speech giving source. You get a chance to refine and practice that. And the cool thing is that when you practice your speeches, I'll give you some feedback. I'll help you out. Okay, this is how you can improve this, is how you can improve that. And so hopefully what I'm looking for, I'm not looking for somebody to just be a great speaker right that. What I'm hoping is that you can come in wherever you come in. Maybe you're good, maybe you're great. If you're great, then I want you to become excellent. I want you to become phenomenal. If you're good, I want you to become great. So wherever maybe you're terrible, I want you to become good. I want you to move from here to the next stage, wherever you may be. And that's actually what I'm looking for in this class, to move you into a better place. You may not, just move from terrible to excellent right away, but that's okay. It's all about practice. Okay, so that's really what essentially the course is all about. This is kind of bird's eye view of what we're going to be doing the entire semester. Any questions so far on what I've said? Course description, make sense? Is that what you signed up for? Mm-hmm. Okay, because that's what you're getting. You have a drop window that's about 2 weeks long, so you're like, no, I don't want to be doing this, so that's okay. But I think you're going to enjoy this class. Now, textbook. The text we have is this textbook right here, Principles of Public Speaking, okay, by Kathleen German. You can see it again. The textbook is linked to your info page on the class. When you log into my courses and you log into this course, you will see that it's in there. Also, I am giving you an actual scan of the first chapter, so you have it. Because the truth is, having come to this class, you should have already read the first chapter. So if you haven't read it, guess what? You have it. You have a chance to catch up. You do need to order your textbooks, okay? You can find them on Amazon, anywhere that you like to order. You want to get it used, you can get it used. You can get a digital copy. You can get instant access to a digital copy. You can get it through a company called VitalSource. They have good prices too. They do digital copies. So I find digital textbooks to be very helpful because they're less expensive than a paper one. It's just as good. Some people hate reading on their computer because it hurts their eyes. Well, then spring for a paper. But it's really up to you. You can rent it, you can get it used. The point is, you need this textbook. Whichever format you're going to get it, it's up to you. You just need it because all the information I'm going to be teaching is from here. You are to read every week before you come to class. So today was chapter 1. That means next week is going to be chapter 2. I expect you to come next week having read chapter 1 and 2. 1, you're going to need it because we are going to talk about it. And yes, it's going to be on the quiz. So, and I'll talk about it today in class, but you also need, chapter 2, because what happens is next week you're here, you're in class, guess what we're discussing? We're discussing chapter 2. If you've read it, it's easy for me to talk to you about it, because then you know exactly what I'm asking you about and what I'm talking about, and then you can ask questions if we can go deep. If it's all new material, then it's much harder for you to comprehend, okay? So that's our textbook. It is an excellent textbook. I will tell you this right now, you're going to love it. The way it's done, the way it's laid out, it's very well done, very well written. I've read a lot of textbooks on this topic, and I really like this one. Okay. I'm not going to read the whole syllabus to you because you guys can read that on your own, but let's see. What I do want to highlight in the syllabus is, of course, your evaluation categories. Okay, so that means there's going to be a whole number of different assignments in this class. And your evaluation categories are such. You have participation, 10%. Reading reports, 10%. Speeches, 30%. 30% of your grade is speeches. But don't freak out. Remember I told you, what am I looking for? I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for progress. If you don't progress from one speech to another, then I get disappointed. But if you improve, then I get really excited. And that's really what I'm looking for, okay? Because everybody starts in a different place. So speeches, 30% quizzes, 30%, and your final exam is 20%, which is kind of cumulative. That has to do with kind of let's say, recycling of your quizzes, essentially. That's what your final exam is. So now let me explain to you a little bit about what I'm talking about when I say participation. Participation is you actually taking active part in this class. That's not just showing up. That means raising your hand and asking a question. That means posing a question that's relevant to the class. Maybe something is unclear in the reading. Guess what? If you've read this book and something doesn't make sense to you, do you know what the odds that it doesn't make sense to your friends are? Pretty high. It makes no sense to you, it probably doesn't make sense to other people. It may make sense to me, but it may need more explanation. So if you don't raise your hand, if you don't say, you know what, I don't get it, can you go over it? Then I'll drill deeper into it, and everyone benefits. This is what I mean by participation. Participation is when you offer some of your expertise in this class to help other students to get better in what they're doing. And it's you actively asking for yourself, for your own sake, because by doing that, you're actually helping other people, believe it or not. So I'm looking for you to participate in this class. I welcome your questions. If you don't like something in this textbook, tell me. I said, this example is completely stupid, it's whack, it's crazy, I don't agree with this. And let's talk about it. Because, again, it's important. The learning process, that's how it happens, is by us interacting with the material. That's what I mean by participation. So guess what? That's 10% of your grade. So that means if you sit here quietly the whole time, I gotta put 0 for that 10%. I need you guys to get in on this class, okay? Because we learn better that way. Now, reading reports, 10%. What in the world is a reading report? Actually, reading report is very simple. You don't have to write anything. It's so simple. Every quiz that you're gonna get, and you're gonna get a quiz like every 4 chapters. Every 4 chapters is gonna be a quiz. Every quiz that you're gonna get, the first line on the quiz is gonna say, I have read such and such percentage of my assigned material. A reading report is a statement by you, an honest, truthful, but totally based on your honor statement. You're telling me how much have you read. So if you, out of 4 chapters, read only 3, then you say, well, I only read 75%. But if you say, oh, I read all 4, then you say, okay, I read 100%. Or if you didn't read the last few pages, oh, I read 80%, whatever. You estimate, tell me how much you read. And I'm gonna take your word for it. Now, if you tell me that you read 100%, but then you scored really, really low on the quiz, I'm gonna wonder if you actually did. But you get the idea. I'm looking for your honesty. There's no way for me to truly check how much you read, but I'm trusting you on that. But what I need is, if some of you are not reading, I need to be able to see that right away. And that's why I'm putting this reading report. It's kind of arbitrary, but that is what I'm asking. I'm asking you to report to me that you've read and how much you read. And that becomes your grade, and that's 10% of your grade, okay? Then we have speeches. Well, speeches is understood. This is a speech class. You will have 4 speeches total in this class. And each one of these speeches will be graded. But don't worry, I tend to be very lenient with people speaking. I really do, because it's a very courageous act for people to get up and speak. So don't stress out too much about that. Then there's quizzes. Quizzes is 30%. Every 4th chapter, we're gonna have a quiz. So just I'm very predictable. The way I teach is very much predictable. In fact, if you have me for the classes, you'll probably see the same pattern. Every 3 or 4 chapters, I will do a quiz. And the quiz will always be based on what you read. It's not gonna be based on what we talked in class about specifically some of the examples that I use from my personal experience. You're responsible for your reading. I'm quizzing you on a textbook, I'm not quizzing you on my lecture. I know that some professors quiz you on their lectures. I don't do that, because I don't believe that's fair, because not everyone remembers everything that they heard. But what you can remember is what you read, because you have the textbook and you can go over it as many times as you want to. And that's what you're responsible for. So there's certain key topics that I'm gonna bring up in class over and over and over. And if you know if I'm belaboring something, you know it's gonna be in a quiz. If I say, look at this page, look at that point, you might wanna note it because it's probably gonna be on the quiz. Because I probably think it's important, so I'm gonna try to get your attention to that. So just keep that in mind. So every 4 weeks, we're gonna have a quiz. And then in the end, of course, we're gonna have a final exam. Okay. Questions so far? I know I haven't gone over everything, but like so far what I've explained, the structure, does that make sense? How you evaluate it, does that make sense? That your grade is kind of evenly spread between quizzes and speaking and showing up and participating and doing your reading reports. So it's not like if you just fail in one particular area, you fail the whole class. It's spread out so that you do well, let's put it that way. It's designed like that on purpose, so it give you a well-rounded experience. Because some people are terrible at taking quizzes, but they're better at speaking. Other people are the other way around. So I want to give everybody a chance.